Hi everyone, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com, and I just wanted to answer a question that I've seen online a couple of different times, so I thought that I'd make this screencast. What you're seeing right here, this is actually an actual church newsletter volunteered by the guy who makes the church newsletter, because I was talking about what I would do to solve a problem that he has. So he has this PDF, and as you can see on the screen, it's perfectly legible on a laptop screen, which is how I'm recording this, but not necessarily in other circumstances. So by that I mean here, let's take a look at this screen right here. So I'm using a plugin for Chrome that resizes the screen to mimic what it would look like on a mobile phone, for example. So this would be what it would look like on an older iPhone, say a 3GS or older, which I know those are going out of vogue, so it's less of an issue. But still, the fact that in order to read this, you would have to scroll down and scroll over, or you could also zoom out to where it would fit in, but it gets a little more difficult to read in that case. So that's not what you want. So how do you get over that problem here? First, let me minimize that. So we have this, and what I have gone ahead and done is I have created a WordPress installation. I'm going to delete this installation when I'm done with this tutorial, but what we have here is if you're a church and you don't have a lot of money, you're a nonprofit, so you could go to dreamhost.com right here, and they have a special program where you can get free hosting. So you're not out any money. You're probably going to want a domain name, but that wouldn't be all that expensive. Or you could use your own web hosting, whatever you want to use, but this is the free way to do it. I'm actually using my personal web host, the basic installation of WordPress. So what you see right away is this really doesn't help us all that much. So we need to make a couple of changes. This is the default theme that comes with the new WordPress installation. I haven't really done much to it, but what we can do here is we can go through and add the responsive theme, which I've done over here. Now, you think, well, that looks a little bit better, but how does that help me? Well, let's use that same plugin that I used earlier to demonstrate why a PDF was perhaps a problem, and let's resize the screen down to that same size, shall we? So keep in mind, I haven't really done anything to this. You could upload your logo, you can make it look a lot better. So I just wanted to do this as quickly as possible. So I'm going to click. This is an extension you can get for Chrome. I think it's called Resize Windows. Anyway, so let's go down to this one. This is a fairly small size, and if it works here, it'll work on iPads. It'll work on the Nexus 7, anything else, in addition to regular laptop and desktop screens. So here we go. I'll take it down to that size, and you look, all of a sudden it's perfectly readable. And it's done all the reflowing, and all the navigation and everything is still there. So this could be an entire church website built on this one theme. So let me expand that out just a little bit. I'm going to go back to a more normal size here, maybe 1280 by 1024. Okay, so you saw how everything just reflows. That's what we mean by responsive. So you're not creating a new website, you're just using a theme that basically it works on using percentages. Instead of saying 1,000 pixels, it might say 80%. So that's just an oversimplification for sure, but that's how it works. So in order to get this responsive theme, let me show you what I did. I'm going to go back into the back end and I'm going to go to themes here. And right now you'll see that I have responsive on. What comes with it are the 2011 and 2012 themes, and that's what I showed you initially over here. That's 2012, I believe. So in order to get responsive, you do have to do a little bit of work, and you click on this. So you're in the back end of WordPress here. Having installed it, there's plenty of tutorials online on how to do it. It's not difficult whatsoever. And with DreamHost or a lot of other hosting companies, it's actually pretty simple. There's a wizard that you answer a couple of questions and it just does it. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. Check on YouTube for how to install WordPress. There's all kinds of tutorials, and I might actually put a link in the notes here. So basically on the back end we've got the appearance, and then under that we've got themes. I go to install themes, and just a second while that does that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search. This is what I did earlier this afternoon for the word responsive. And then click search, and okay, that gives us several themes that are responsive. So you could choose one of these others if you wanted to, but what I have chosen is the responsive theme, and that's what I use as I'm recording this for trinitydigitalmedia.com. I have skinned it using a mechanism in WordPress called child themes, but in effect that's what you do. It will give you this home page, so you will have to go into theme options, that out, and uncheck this checkbox that says overrides the WordPress front page option, and that will get rid of the stuff on the front page, because all we're making really is a website that has the newsletter in it. So that's how you get the theme to look right. But how do you go from this to over here? Let's just go back to my blog and visit site. Okay, so how do you get to this? And more specifically, you'll notice that I've already copied and pasted all the information into one of the entries here. So this is, you could think of this as a story in a newsletter, and that's just a blog post. Well, what if you would like to have all the stories listed on a single page and linked to another? I've created a page up here. And the difference between a page and a post is a post is dated and they show up in reverse chronological order, and a page is, it just stays. So most recent newsletter could be here, and I have made a link here for the A Cool August story, or the A Cool August blog post. And if you click on that, and you can of course imagine that there are 6 or 10 or however many stories you have, that will take you to this. Now there is a problem if this site has other content. So if we go back here to home, you'll see that I've got a regular blog post here that I don't want included in the newsletter. Well, one of the cool things about WordPress is there are categories. So I can just when I'm pasting stuff in, I can say, okay, this goes in the newsletter category, and it doesn't have to be newsletter. It could be the monthly report or cool stuff about our church or whatever you want to call it. So I could go to the newsletter category, and once I do that, the only thing listed here would be stuff that you've said is in fact in the newsletter category. So that's how you make it responsive, but what if you would like it to automatically be emailed out, say, once a month? Well, once you set this up, it just automatically does it. So it's pretty straightforward to do. And let me show you what you do. We need to use a feature of WordPress called RSS. That's short for either Real Simple Syndication or Rich Site Survey, depending on who you listen to. There's some disagreement of what RSS stands for. So an RSS feed looks a little bit like this. Now this is the RSS feed for the entire site. So everything that comes in, you'll notice it's got all your information here. It looks a lot like gobbledygook, but trust me, a computer can read this. So what you want to do is you want to copy that address. In this case, it's paulclifford.org/wp2/?feed equals RSS2. So in your case, you just want to end the domain name with $feed equals RSS2, and that will be your feed address, and it should give you something that looks a lot like this. Again, you don't have to be able to understand what all is going on here to know that that's what this is. Think of this as kind of like a shopping list that has everything that's on your website, and it'll go from there. So we copy this address. If the entire site is just the newsletter, that's all I would do. If I wanted to do just a category, I can, here, let me go back over here. Again, go back to the newsletter category. Okay, and you'll see up here it says $cat equals 2. You can actually set that up so it's human readable. It's not this kind of computer name. You can set it up to where it's category/newsletter, for example. So I'm not going to show you how to do that, but that's something that you can do with no problem whatsoever. So now we've got just the stuff that's in the newsletter category. It excludes the other stuff, in this case, a regular blog post, which is in the regular blog entries category. It excludes that. And so what we'll do is on the end of cat2, we put ampersand, the little and sign, feed equals RSS2. And so that's what I'm going to actually copy in this case, since I've got more than one category, but I'm copying that. And now I'm going to go to MailChimp. Now MailChimp is my newsletter provider, and they can do some pretty cool things. So this is some of my recent campaigns, and I probably shouldn't have showed you all that, but whatever. So now I'm going to create a new campaign, but instead of clicking create a new campaign up here, I'm going to click this little arrow to the right here, and there's a choice, RSS driven campaign. Now I've got a list that in this case is a test list. It only has my email address in it, but I could absolutely, without any problem whatsoever, put in, 500 email addresses for people that are part of your church that want the newsletter delivered to them automatically in their email. So just a second while we wait on MailChimp to do this. Okay, looks like this is coming up. Okay, so I'm going to give this a name here. So let's call this newsletter emails. Could be anything you want it to be. So how often should you send it? You could theoretically send it every day, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it once a month on the first of every month at 9 a.m. Okay, then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Recipients, and that will allow me to select the list of names, because I could have several lists, right? Okay, I made a mistake there. I should have pasted in my RSS, but you probably saw that. So that's my RSS address. Remember that I got up here. From either the RSS feed that's the whole site RSS feed, or in this case the one I got was the category RSS feed, if we remember that. So that goes in there, and now I go to Recipients. Remember, this is set for every month, first day of the month. Okay, I've got several lists here, but the one that I'm going to check here is the test list, and I could have that segmented, by the way, to, let's see, I could have like a youth group newsletter, I could have a senior adult newsletter, I could have a music newsletter for people that are interested in music, and that could be segmented, and then they could be a subset of the entire church mailing list. So send to the entire list. In this case, that's what I want to do since this is a church-wide newsletter. And I'm going to scroll down, and okay, that's what I want. Now I'm going to go to Setup. And now I need to name the campaign. This is the name here is an internal name, so here's where I should have put like newsletter email. Okay, and from name, the pastor's name or whatever. You know, in this case, I'm putting my email address as the reply to email address. And here is the subject. Now, this says posts from RSS title for RSS feed date. Think of these as variables in math. So RSS feed date, that would work. But let's move the rest of that and say like first church is newsletter for RSS feed date. Okay? And if I wanted to, I could put in people's names. That's a variable for their name. All the rest of that I don't need to worry about. Now I'm going to go on to the design. So I can edit a template. I'm just going to go with a basic template this time, and let's just choose basic and select that. Okay, just a second here. Now you can think of this as kind of the basis for your thing, so you can edit this, insert your church's image, change some basic information here, that kind of thing. And then we can go on to next will be a plain text version. So if someone doesn't have HTML set up for their website, they can for their email, they can still get the content just as text, and it'll have the links listed, so if they wanted to, they could see it. So there we go. And then we click confirm. Again, don't forget, you would want to remove what was there and put in a message, just a generic message that would stay the same from month to month. Okay, and this gives us the basic overview, and now I can click start campaign. Okay, and now on the 1st of every month at 9 a.m. local time, everyone in that list will receive this email. Now, you don't have to go back to MailChimp ever again. Part of what you're doing here is you can, as part of the list, as part of this list dialog, when you were creating the list, there is also, here, let me click on that. Sign up forms here. So you can send someone, here I'm going to click on the sign up form dialog here. So this is how basically you get people on this list, is by getting a sign up form, and you can add a form to your Facebook page. You can embed forms in your website. You could put it on the newsletter website, for example. Hey, if you want this newsletter sent automatically to your email address once a month, put it in here. And then here's your general forms. Here, I'm just going to select that. And this is just the generic sign up form, and you can leave it like that. Type in a message. We'll click that just to show you how to do it. Hey, want our church's newsletter sent to your email once a month? Just put your information in the form below. And then we click save, and that's it. Now you want to make this as basic as you can. Name is fine to add in, but I've seen lists like this where the form was like a page long and no one wants to fill that out, so make it as simple as possible. So now you can change the design, you can translate it to another language, but in this case I'm just going to go directly to share it, and it has a QR code I can download so that people with smartphones can go directly to it. There's a short form URL, so you could send that out on Twitter or Facebook, or you could just take this link right here and paste that anywhere that a link would go, and it would say subscribe to our newsletter, and that's it. And you can also embed a form on a web page, so click on that and do that. So it's really not all that difficult. This is just kind of an overview, and I've skipped a lot of little minutiae that you can use to make it better. But I think that is really what most churches that have a printed newsletter ought to do instead of uploading a PDF, because a PDF, remember, is just a digital representation of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But your screen is an 8.5 by 11, and your iPad is an 8.5 by 11, and your iPad mini isn't, your telephone isn't. So it's really not the right format for a screen. It's more for, hey, we need this form exactly as you see it printed out. We don't need you to mess with it. That's the form that it's for. So using these steps to first copy the contents of your newsletter. I do it before it even became a PDF, quite frankly. So when you get the Word document from your pastor, copy that bad boy, paste it into a new blog post. Here I'm already logged in, so new post. Give it a title, paste it in there. Over here to the right, select the category and hit publish, and that's done. Do that for each of the stories. As you get them in, just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Recruit a teenager or a blogger in your congregation to do this, and you personally, the one watching this, you don't necessarily even have to do this. You could set this up so that it gets done some other way, and then everyone thinks you're a genius, but you just set it up ahead of time. And then remember, we're going to want to get the RSS address. Remember, it should end $feed equals RSS2. Copy that, put it in whatever your email newsletter software is. I use MailChimp. I don't get paid by them, but that's what I use personally. I've got about 1,000 subscribers, so I think the free account lets you go up to 2,000. So most churches, you'd be covered by that, and that's all free, by the way. Free account up to 2,000 subscribers, up to, I think it's 10,000 emails a month. I mean, it would be perfectly fine for you. You set it up to automatically go based on the RSS feed, and you're done. So I hope that helps you guys, and I hope that it answers some questions that have been out there about how you bring in the 20th century newsletter into the 21st century technology. Until next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Go out and change eternity.